ladies and gentlemen here. Nice to have you by. It's Halloween time. Everybody's getting ready for having all kinds of parties and so forth. I have an old book here called Funology by E.O. Harvard, a book of good times, 1,000 games and entertainment plans. This book is from the early 20th century. And as I was going through it, I saw how people used to celebrate Halloween at parties in the early 20th century. And a lot of them were done at church. Here's an example of a Halloween party invitation you can send out. And it goes as such. Next Friday on Halloween at Oak Lawn Church, I will be seen. If you want to know your future fate, be there when the clock strikes 8. Great mysteries I will unfold. Your future fate you may behold. I'll stew for you some witch's brew. So come and bring a friend or two. And it talks about how to, decorate the place and so forth at your church. And it says decorations make things interesting from the beginning. With curtains and screens make long, narrow, dimly lighted passages to caves made of brush piled together and covered with leaves. One of the Mystery Hall passes a number of Sunday school classrooms in which old witches have been placed who make gruesome noises. Make huge jack-o'-lanterns of old witches riding brooms and swing them on a drop with a red light in the center of some of the classrooms. They look as if they are flying through the air. Mystery Hall parties are formed and are led by witches. Have the social parlors very dimly lighted, with an old spook wrapped in a sheet, holding a white kid glove stuffed with nails and soaked in ice water to receive the guests. In front of one of the caves, have an old witch telling fortunes. Get the best palmist you can find. Let another hall lead to Mystery Cave, in which witches serve from a menu. Menus can be very artistically made and decorated. So you could order sidewalk slippers, bananas, fountain of youth, water, the staff of life, bread, falling tears, onions, sand. Another hall leads to a cave or hut of an old witch who is serving the witch's brew from an iron pot swung from 3 sticks over a fire, made of red lights and crepe paper. Punch may be served for the brew. Bobbing and biting of apples may be kept going on in other caves. An interesting Halloween game lets someone start making up a ghost story with 2 or 3 sentences, and everyone in turn add 2 or 3 more lines. Anyone talking out of time plays a forfeit. And this was from a Mrs. Opal Wallace of Dallas, Texas, way back in the day. Let's see some other things that you can do. All right, there was something here, how to get acquainted. As this was a crowd where a good many were unacquainted at the Halloween party, a get acquainted step was in order. The girls formed an outer circle, the boys an inner circle, and marched in opposite directions to piano music. When the piano stopped, as it did at frequent intervals, the marchers stopped, faced one another, each learned the other's name, and they conversed until the piano began playing when they resumed the march. A ring, thimble, and penny had been hidden about the room, and the players were told to hunt them. Found, they were informed that finding the ring indicated early marriage. The thimble, single blessings, and the penny, well. And then you could have the feat of famous ghosts. The witch called certain folks to meet with the witches' council. The witches' council, composed of the witches and a few members of the social committee, explained to the group chosen just what each was to do. The idea was to represent famous characters by covering the head with an old pillow casing in which eyes had been cut, and the body with a sheet indicating some telltale characteristic in some way. The persons called out by the witch impersonated these ghosts. The rest of the crowd were provided with paper and pencil and guessed the names of famous ghosts. Like number 1, George Washington, who walked across the platform carrying a hatchet and a bunch of chairs. D, carrying an apple and dragging a toy snake across the floor. Queen Elizabeth and Sir Walter Raleigh. Sir Walter put down a cloak, white rag, on which the Queen crossed an imaginary mud puddle. Diogenes carrying a lantern. Or Darwin looking for the missing link. Betsy Ross sewing an American flag. Napoleon with white hat paper and folded arms. Benjamin Franklin with a kite and key, and Theodore Roosevelt with a big stick, and Carrie Nation. The witch stepped out and put up the sign with saloon printed on it. Ghost carried rubber hatchets, hateable at most 10-cent stores, destroyed the furniture in pantomime, and completed her wrecking expedition by knocking down the sign and trampling on it. Well, another thing that you could do is called the Halloween frolic. Decorations. Remember that Halloween decorations are necessary to the proper Halloween atmosphere. Bobbing for apples. In order to break up that awkward period when you are waiting for the crowd to gather, start guests to bobbing for apples, floating in a big tub of water. On each apple is cut or pinned an initial. And next you can have what is called the Chamber of Horror. Next, the guests are conducted to it two at a time through the Chamber of Horror, a dark room or passageway where all sorts of creepy things happen. There is a rattling of chains, a terrifying noise made by scraping pieces of tin together, a ghost guide who has a tantalizing way of frightening you with the use of a feather duster, though of course you don't know it's a feather duster. Then there is a giant ghost whose very presence is scary and everything. He may be standing on stilts with back against the wall, and occasionally he moans hideously. Off in one dark corner, every now and then, two eyes flame for a second. These have been made by using empty eggshells in which have been inserted tiny electric light bulbs, which are flashed on and off. The ghost guide tells a pitiful story about a friend who has died and makes each one handle parts of the dead man's body. These parts are kept on plates, placed on a long table or on chairs. The guide may direct the victim's hand to each plate. It will not be necessary to lift the part. As he comes to each one, he moans and sobs out that those are the poor dear's eyes, etc. If you don't think there's some creepy experience, try it. The eyes are two whole grapes, the tongue a raw oyster, the heart a piece of liver, the lungs a wet sponge, the brain a coil of rope dampened or a part of an ear of green corn. And then you can do something called the spook show. The clever spook show could be worked out. Two spooks capture a person who, on being asked his name, answers Sam, and on a further demand for his other name, tremblingly informs his captors that his maiden name is Johnson. Mephisto and a ghost chorus now enter the scene of action, and one of the ghosts informs the captive that he need not fear, for it is no one but Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles? Queries Sam. Mephistopheles. Well, answers Sam, looks like the devil to me. Ghost chorus may then sing slowly and as spookily as possible to the tune of Old Lang Syne. We're looking for young men who plans to take a wife. We'll put them in a dungeon dark and keep them there for life. We're looking for young folks who mutter and complain. We'll put them at hard work and toil. They'll have real aches and pain. They'll have real aches and pain. Sam, during the singing of the song, may protest his innocence of the crimes mentioned. A number of local hits may be pulled off by having the two chief ghosts act as questioners and Sam as the gag man. As a special feature to show, someone may recite or sing Little Orphan Annie by James Whitcomb Riley, and the goblins will get you if you don't watch out. A spook male quartet can be formed from members of the group. By practicing beforehand, they can sing one of the two Halloween songs very effectively. Solo selections also may be used. Or you could, at these old-time Halloween parties, do something called jumping the candles. A dozen lighted candles are placed about 2 feet apart in a room across the room. Each candle represents a month. The young ladies are to hop from side to side over the candle that is stuffed out, indicating the month of marriage. This feature should precede the spook show, that being the closing feature of your program. Save wieners and rye bread or ginger snaps and sweet ciders. Now, fortune telling used to be really big at these Halloween parties. Other Halloween suggestions. One organization had 3 fortune-telling booths, and one was a fortune wheel. This may be made by painting an indicator on a piece of cardboard, which has been marked off in 12 sections. The number at which the indicator points when it stops spinning indicates some fortune. A list being posted where all can read it. In another booth was a witch with the invisible ink fortunes, which she hocus-pocused over a lighted candle. And still another booth, there was a gypsy psalmist, or rather palmist, who happened to be one of the members, who got on clever things because she knew a little about palmistry and a lot about her craft. You can use apple seeds for fortune. Name 2 wet apple seeds and stick them on the forehead. The first seed to fall off indicates that the person for whom it was named is not true. And there's apple seed jingles you can do with these fortunes. The number of seeds in the apple tell the fortune after this fashion. 1 I love, 2 I love, 3 I love, I say. 4 I love with all my heart, 5 I cast away. 6 he loves, 7 she loves, 8 they both agree. 9 he comes, 10 he tarries, 11 he courts, 12 he marries. And you can do fortune-telling peanuts. Prepare these by removing the nuts and putting in tiny folded pieces of paper which are written such words as journey, wealth, success, brunette, blonde, etc. Give one to each guess. Open up the peanut and see what it says. There's also something called the bean fortune. Give out little sacks of beans, making no effort to count them. Each person may tell his or her own fortune, then after a manner in which we use to count off buttons on our coat. Rich man, poor man, beggar man, thief, doctor, lawyer, merchant, chief, rich girl, poor girl, beggar girl, cook, school girl, phone girl, servant girl, cook. This year, next year, no year darn, big house, little house, hotel, barn. And then you can have the giant ghost. At one party, a giant ghost met everyone as he stepped into the room. He was tremendously tall and looked very funny when he bowed almost to the floor. He also had a peculiar habit of dwindling in size until he appeared only of normal height. Here is the secret. The ghost's head had been fastened on the end of a broom. The sheet was fastened about the neck, and the entire thing held up by a girl or boy inside who held the broom by the handle, raising or lowering it at pleasure. What's some other things you can just enjoy here? The Black Cat Party. This is a word game you can do that has cat in the word. In the Black Cat Party, you can have the cat contest. And the question you can ask is, the cat in a deluge is a catacomb. The cat in a place of burial is a catacomb. A Roman cat is a catalog. A cat that has fits, catalepsis. A tree cat, catalog. A library cat, catalog. A climbing cat, caterpillar. A water cat, a cataract. A cat that needs to be doctored, catalog. That's old. A cat in trouble, catastrophe. A cat that pleasing popular melody, catchy. A religious cat is a catechism. A classified cat is a category. A cat in fruit store is a catalog. Table cat, category. The Black Cat Society may now be organized. The first thing in order being the election of a chief howler. Make the election as exciting and amusing as possible by the nomination of several people, having someone present the claims of each. The chief howler now takes charge and commands all brother and sister black cats to join in the society anthem. He then begins. 3 blind mice, see how they run, see how they run. They all ran up after the farmer's wife. She cut off their tails with a carving knife. 3 blind mice, etc. The person to the right of the chief howler begins the song for himself by the time the chief howler has reached the second line. And so with the person to the right of this one and all the way around, each singing with complacent disregard of the other. Over and over they sing it. it ought to be a howling success. The chief howler raps for order when he figures the society anthem has been given its due emphasis and announces, all in favor of adjourning for eat, say meow. All the black cats answer with a chorus of meows, of course. Sweet milk as pie may be offered. A milk drinking contest may be put on with some of the boys as contestants. The milk should be poured into saucers, and the contestants must lap it up like a cat. And finally, from the book of Phonology, Things to Do for Halloween, way back in the early 20th century, from this very old book, it says, Meeting the Queen of Halloween. All guests, one at a time, must appear before the Queen of Halloween, Hell, and lift the right hand for her blessing. The Queen, with pasteboard crown, sits on her throne over in one corner. She wears on her right hand a glove, which is sewed in its palm a copper wire, off the end of which has been scraped the insulation. This wire runs back of her to the floor, where it is connected with a battery. The battery is so arranged that the Queen can throw on the juice by stepping on a switch. The switch and battery, of course, are covered by her dress. As the victim kneels and extends his hand, the Queen grasps it, has it to shake hands, throws on the switch, and the subject leaps to his feet with a wild yell. And thus, you get to meet the Queen of Halloween. From the book Phonology by E.O. Harbin, The Book of Good Times, 1,000 Games and Entertainment Plus, a book published in the early 20th century that had all kind of wonderful social programs for all year long. And these were the ones for Halloween, and mostly done at churches back then. So now you know how your great-great-grandmother and grandfather enjoyed Halloween a long time ago. Certainly was a different time. But there's a lot of good suggestions in there that who says you couldn't have a fun like that today. This is Dirk Allman here for this nice podcast, giving you a little bit of social history of how Halloween was celebrated ages and ages ago. You all have a happy Halloween and have a good night. Good night.